I fought a giant with one eye. I sailed past monsters that eat men whole. I walked into the land of the dead and walked back out. I was held prisoner for 7 years by a goddess who would not let me leave.
That's the statement. 10 years to travel 565 miles. 3,000 years later, nobody has audited it. So let's audit it. Troy is here. Ithaca is here. Bronze Age ship. Good weather. 2 weeks. Bad weather, bad luck, a stop for water. Call it a month. He took 10. That's 120 months to do 1 month of sailing. At that pace, a man walking would have arrived in 3 weeks. A tortoise would have arrived in 4 years. He came 9th in a 2-competitor race. This is not history. This is a receipts audit. He left Troy with 12 ships and roughly 600 men. He arrived in Ithaca with 0 ships and 0 men. Asleep, on somebody else's boat, dropped off like a package. Now, every extraordinary claim in his statement has exactly one thing in common. Every man who could confirm any of it is dead. Conveniently, off-screen, in an order that always leaves him talking. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm saying he's the only source, he's the only survivor, and he's the one who benefits. 3 for 3. Read the itinerary as what it actually reads like. A crew of 600 armed men, 10 years into a war, suddenly off duty with a boat. Stop 1. An island of people who eat a plant. His men eat the plant. They lose all interest in going home and have to be dragged back to the ship crying. Stop 2. A cave. He goes in uninvited, helps himself to another man's food and drink, gets caught, and gets into a fight with a very large local, during which he refuses to give his real name. He says his name is Nobody, and then, on the way out, at a safe distance, screams his full name and address at the man he just injured. That is not a hero outwitting a monster. That is a man leaving a bar. Stop 3. A king gives him a bag containing every wind except the one that blows him home. 9 days from Ithaca, close enough to see the fires on the beach, he falls asleep. His crew opens the bag. They blew the budget. 9 days from home, back to square one. Next, he is captured by a witch. His word, captured. Terms of captivity, as described in his own statement. A house, staff, a bath, hot meals, wine, and the personal attention of the hostess. Duration of this ordeal? 1 year. And at the end of it, his men have to come and ask him, politely, whether he'd consider going home now. The prisoner had to be reminded he was a prisoner. By the guards, who were also prisoners. The Sirens sing a song so beautiful it kills you. His solution? Everyone else plugs their ears. He is tied to the mast so he can hear all of it and survive. Read that again. He arranged for the entire crew to be deafened for the one event on the trip with a soundtrack and reserved the only seat. He is the only man in history who has ever survived the Sirens. He is also the only witness that there were any. And then we come to it. 7 years out of 10. 70% of the missing decade happened on one beach. His statement calls this imprisonment. So let's list the prison conditions. And one more. The warden offers him, in writing, in his own account, immortality, eternal youth, forever. He says he turned it down every single day, for 2,555 consecutive days. The first man in recorded history to say no to eternal life 7 years in a row, and somehow still be there in the morning. And here's the part nobody asks about. He is not rescued. Nobody storms the beach. What finally happens is that the gods send a message asking her to let him go, and she says, fine. That's it. That's the escape. Someone had to call the island and ask him to come home. One receipt, because this part isn't a joke. Every monster, the giant, the witch, the sea creature, the land of the dead, lives in 4 chapters where Odysseus himself is doing the talking. At a dinner party, in somebody else's palace. To a king who has not yet decided whether to give him a ship and a pile of treasure. He finishes the story. He gets the treasure. So let's stop asking whether the monsters were real. Let's ask what the 10 years were actually for. Official version, the entire crew died. Eaten, drowned, struck by lightning for eating the wrong cows. Now try the other version. Nobody died. They arrived on an island with unlimited food, warm water, no war, no king, and no reason on earth to get back into a boat. The second in command opens a bar. He has been taking orders for 10 years, and now other people bring him things. One of them gets in shape for the first time in his adult life. One of them discovers agriculture. One of them has not stood up since the second year and is, by every available measure, the happiest man in the Bronze Age. 600 men who spent 10 years sleeping in mud outside Troy, being told daily that they might die for another man's marriage, are handed a beach. And you think they voted to leave. And here's the thing, every one of them had exactly the option he had. There's a boat, there's a sea, nobody is guarding anybody. 600 men made a decision. It just wasn't the decision that gets you a poem. Which raises the real question. If it was that good, why is he the only one who left? Card 1, Conscience. He's the reason 600 men are on that beach and not at home. Their families think they're dead. Somebody has to walk into that. Card 2. He's the only one whose wife is still waiting. Everyone else's life moved on. His didn't. There is a woman at home who has spent 20 years telling 108 men no. Card 3, and let's be honest about it, an estate. 12 herds of cattle, a palace, a kingdom, and 108 unemployed young men eating all of it, sleeping in his house, and openly discussing which one of them gets his wife, his throne, and his furniture. You can love your wife and want your cows back. Those aren't in conflict. Watch how an innocent man comes home. He doesn't walk up the beach and announce himself. He puts on a disguise. He hides. He spends days as a beggar in his own house, feeding people small pieces of the story and watching their faces. He tests the shepherd. He tests the maids. He tests his wife. He tests his father. And to each of them, he tells a completely different fake life story. New name, new father, new city, new shipwreck. 4 of them. Invented on the spot, fluently, for no reward at all. He lies to his own father, about who he is, to his face, for no reason. That is not a man overcome with emotion at seeing his home. And then, when the room is finally full of everyone who has been in that house for the last 10 years, watching everything, keeping their own count of the days, he kills every single one of them. I'm sure that's unrelated. So here's the verdict. A man went out, stayed out, felt bad about it, came home alone, and needed the biggest excuse in human history. So he built one, with a giant in it. And it worked so well that we carved it into stone, taught it in schools for 3,000 years, and named the word for a great journey after it. Every man who has ever come home late and said you would not believe the day I've had owes this guy royalties. Meanwhile, the person who actually held a kingdom together for 20 years, alone, against 108 men, gets 4 lines and no adjective. For the record, this was a joke. The 7 years weren't.